There are thousands of careers in California, but how are we supposed to know which is the right career for us? If we're to spend 40 to 50 hours a week, over 10,000 hours a year, we're going to want to choose a career that we're best at and one that we love. And with the average American changing their jobs up to 7 times during their lifetime, finding the right career as soon as possible will contribute to better health and help you live a richer and fuller life. The right career is out there waiting for you, and I'm going to help you find it. I'm Freddy Cochran. Welcome to California Careers. We're here today with Mayor Scotto in the city of Torrance. How are you, Mr. Mayor?
Good, Freddie. How are you?
Doing good. Okay, thank you for taking the time out to meet with us today. We appreciate
Absolutely.
that. What we're here today is to try to establish how a young person can go about acquiring the career of mayor. We want to teach young people, high school students or college students, how one goes about what education goes on, the process of the electoral process, exactly how one can become mayor. So we should start out, are you originally from Torrance, or?
Well, I've lived in Torrance virtually all my life. I've been here for about 57 years now, and so I was a real small child when my parents moved into Torrance, and they moved to Torrance because back in those days is where there was a lot of farms and so forth, so they wanted to have a farm, and which we did. We had a rabbit farm, actually. You know, we were really poor by today's standards, and my dad was also a commercial fisherman. He came straight from Italy.
Were you a product of the public school system as a young boy? Or?
Well, actually, I went to a Catholic school. The elementary school was St. Margaret Mary in Lomita, and then I went to an all-boys Catholic school in San Pedro, which is not there anymore. It's called Furman La Suenne, which was a great school to go to as a young person. It was an athletic school, and we were really big into athletics. And they really well prepared me for college and so forth, because it was a great school for that.
You were a football player, isn't that right?
Yeah, I did play football. And
what position?
I actually was the linebacker, and
wow.
I was a big boy for that age because of working on the farm. My legs are huge because of lifting a wheelbarrow every day with 100 pounds of rabbit feed in for like 6 or 7 years, probably 3,000 times a day, and that got my body in good shape for football. But my problem was I broke my ankle my sophomore year at the beginning of the season, and it was the end of football for me. So unfortunately, life has twists, but I'm very disappointed I didn't get to pursue that career. But in reality, I'm probably better today than I didn't.
Let's talk about what exactly is a mayor. What does a mayor do? What is a mayor?
Well, believe it or not, mayor in the city of Torrance is quite involved in everything that goes on. All cities, their mayors are very active, but the city of Torrance is of the size where, you have to get involved in quite a bit of things. Mayor primary function is to run the council, and then what I mean about that is that we have city council meetings every Tuesday night. We have a weekly meeting, and my job is to run that council meeting. And obviously, running the council meeting sounds pretty simple. I'm a voting member of the council. Some the mayors don't vote, but there's 7 people on our council, so anything that passes needs a majority of 4 people. So I do run the meeting and do a lot of the scheduling of what goes on in those meetings. But I'm the face of Torrance, and fortunately or unfortunately, I get to go to ribbon cuttings. I get to do a lot of things with a lot of politicians. I've been very fortunate enough to meet the President of the United States. I've been fortunate to meet the Governor of California. Let me tell you, I never could imagine that I could sit in a room like we are here, one-on-one with nobody else in the room with the President of the United States for 20 minutes and talk.
That's amazing.
And once you get past 2 minutes.
Which president was it?
President Bush at the time.
Okay.
And, I planned a 2-minute talk because I was told by the Secret Service you're going to get 2 minutes and that's it. And then everything else was delayed, so him and I were in this room, and
wow.
And it was pretty.
What was he doing here?
He was out here promoting a bill that he was trying to pass about trade, and he came to a company here in Torrance called Robinson Helicopter, which is actually the largest helicopter manufacturer in the world.
Okay.
They produced, at the time, 2006, they were producing well over 800 helicopters, and so he wanted to come here and talk about how we were stifling that company because we wouldn't let them export to certain countries in the world. And so he was trying to get this bill passed to let them export to the rest of these countries, and obviously the bill didn't pass. But so he was here to do that, and it was a big PR thing. It was going to be on all the news channels. And so again, I had 2 minutes to talk to him, but it turned out to be 20. And so we talked about normal political things, and And I could tell he was not wanting to hear that stuff, and so I just threw it out there. I said, "What do you think about the Super Bowl in that particular year?" And he just lit up. I mean, I couldn't stop him from talking, because now I was talking like guys would talk individually, and he was pretty excited, because I knew that he didn't have that opportunity very often to just talk like guys would talk. And so we didn't talk any more politics. We talked about everything else, and he was pretty excited. He actually,
what a perk of a job right there, get to be the president.
I tell you.
Let's back up for a minute. You had mentioned the city council, and we're in the city offices where the city council is up and down this hallway here. What exactly is a city council now?
Well, we do all the everything in the city. We do all the policy. We decide the budgets of the city of Torrance. We make all the decisions. I mean, with 4 votes in the city of Torrance, the council could virtually do anything, literally. The only thing we don't do in the city of Torrance, the city in Torrance has a division between the city council and the school district, so we don't do anything on school properties. But everything outside that fence is the city council.
So you guys actually draft the local laws for the city of Torrance?
Yes.
You guys actually sit down and draft it on a piece of binder paper? How does that work?
We have council. We have, on the same floor, we have our city attorneys. We have 7 city attorneys up here, and there's another floor below us with the prosecution office will do misdemeanors. So when we're in that mode of thinking about creating an ordinance or something with the city, obviously best way to do it is sit down with your city attorneys and discuss it with them. And they can give you advice. They're not going to tell you what to do, but they can give you advice. And I'm one of those people that believe that we have enough laws, and we have the city and government in general does too much to control our lives. And so I'm working very diligently to take some things off the books, because I think we have too many laws that are sitting there from years ago that have no relevance today, and we need to get rid of those things. But when somebody comes forward and asks us to create a law or an ordinance to do something that hinders other people, I'm very hesitant or very negative on that, and people are constantly asking us to do that, believe it or not. I mean, it could be something very simple to create a tree ordinance to make their neighbors cut their trees down, to just a number of other things, dog ordinances to tell people how they should treat their dogs and what they should do. So I mean,
it's all civil law, isn't that right? There's no criminal side. That would be a state matter.
Right. And people confuse that. The municipalities don't have the ability to do anything with criminal law. So I mean, people do come to me and ask me to help them with their child or their husband or whatever that's in jail, but other than pleading to the court, which it would be a very rare occasion.
If I want a law passed in the city of Torrance, I would just come down here and ask to talk to you or one of the city council members?
Any one of us, yes. And then they would
you
bring
guys
it up.
are open door policy, huh?
Absolutely.
That is
matter of
very
fact,
cool.
I meet with people every day of the week. And matter of fact, it's even better than that. And all cities are like this. But if you want to talk to a politician, email a politician, or even give me a text, it's very simple. Their first initial, their last name, and in Torrance, it would be, my situation would be F. Scotto at Torrance, CA, which stands for California.gov, and you can contact literally anybody in the city on a daily basis. And with technology today, I have a smartphone, and I get emails all day long, and I'm answering emails. And without this, by the way, it would be very difficult to do that. But sometimes an email in response to somebody's question could be very short, in one sentence. But people like the fact that they've made contact with a politician or a mayor. I mean, they could send me an email saying, I was driving down a particular street and I saw this happen. And then I'll say, I'll check into it. And then I find out what's going on. I'll text them back or email them back and give them an answer. And people think, this is incredible. I was able to make change. And that's what government needs to be. Actually, the evolution of government is getting to the point where that kind of technology is so good now that if somebody has an issue with something, I would highly encourage them to get involved and learn how to do this, because you can make change. You can see something on the way home that bothers you, and because it could be something simple as a tree that's overgrown in the right of way to somebody doing something wrong. Like you see somebody in your city doing something wrong, and you can take care of that problem.
It sounds like your job is to protect the citizens of this city.
And that's what it's all about. And a politician is here to represent the people, and sadly some politicians forget that.
Let's talk about the education. What exactly, if can I be a mayor of a city with just a high school education? Do I need to go to college? Or?
Well, you can be a mayor. You can be anything you want with a high school education, but I would believe that you didn't have the tools necessary to be a politician if you didn't graduate. But I would
Graduate from
any college, or any
from
four-year
college.
college. Yeah, I think
Okay.
that.
So you highly recommend that anybody wanting to become a mayor has a college degree?
Or any kind of politician. Yeah, I would
Okay.
recommend that. But I'm going to call them building blocks of success. And
Okay.
the building blocks of success are all the simple things we expect. Going to high school, of course, and graduating, going to college and graduating. But there's so many other pieces to that puzzle. And being involved in your community is a huge piece. Learning to get out in front and be willing to be involved in the community by possibly joining a Rotary Club, a service club, things like that gives you that exposure to have that ability to speak in front of groups. Because if you're going to be a politician, you're going to have to be able to do that. I do that daily. I'm doing it tonight. I'll be in front of a large group of people speaking. And so you have to have that ability to do those things. But you typically, in high school and college, I took debate class, I did all those kinds of things, and I thought I was well prepared. But until you get in front of people, you realize how much more prepared you have to be.
Is there a specific major or a type of degree that one should pursue that would better prepare them to become a mayor?
Well, the funny part about it, they would say political science, of course, is the one, but there's so many other parts to being a politician. And I'm going to go back to the point where I think that people should get a job in the public sector first before you go into, the private sector, before you decide to become a politician, because you need to get to the point where you understand what signing the front of a paycheck means, rather than the back of a paycheck all the time.
Give us an example of what you mean by that.
Well, the business world in America struggles daily with the regulations that government imposes on them. And unless you understand that part of it, being a true politician, you'll never understand the things that you do, how it affects people. You might understand how it affects you as a parent because you might have children. You might understand how it affects you in other ways as a citizen. But unless you're in business some way, working for a business somehow, and seeing how regulations affect you, and if you became a politician and never knew that, it's easy for you to create regulations to affect businesses. And businesses drive America. The small businesses are what's happening in America. And most people just don't want to recognize that, but small businesses employ 60% of America. And so that's the terminology is calling learn how to sign the front of a paycheck, where you're paying somebody else to work for you or a company, and you understand how important it is to that employee that you're, first of all, a good employer. You do everything socially right to take care of your employees, but also to build your business is critically important, to not to be stifled by government, so you can build your business and employ more people.
Let's say, so it sounds like a college degree and hopefully even better, a professional degree. It doesn't matter what the major is.
That's
Political science sounds like a good one, but it doesn't have to be.
No, economics would be huge.
Economics would be good.
Business degree would even be better.
Okay.
And obviously you can be in a business degree and a minor in economics and things like that.
Okay.
And you can take some political science courses, of course. But it depends what you think your path is going to be. And some people who become attorneys believe that they're well positioned to become politicians because the opportunity is there.
What was your major? You went to Long Beach State, right?
It was business, yeah.
Business major, Long Beach State.
Yeah, I think that a business major with minor in economics. My minor would happen to be in marketing, but is critical. And
Were you already injured before you got to Long Beach, or were you able to play football over there?
No, I was in high school. Yeah,
okay.
High school. Unfortunately, I actually when I was in high school, I was dreaming to go to USC, but I couldn't go there unless I got a scholarship for football, and I couldn't financially.
Why is that?
go
Because of
there.
the finances.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I was difficult going to El Camino. I went to El Camino first for 3 years, then I went to Long Beach State. But,
that's interesting. You started out at a junior college.
Yeah, because again, costs back in those days, and I believe that if a student financially can't do it, there's nothing wrong with going to junior college and getting those things out of the way that you need to do, then going on to a major college.
From El Camino to the mayor of Torrance.
Isn't that amazing?
Well, that is awesome.
Yeah. And when I was Long Beach State, I got actually drafted during Vietnam, and at the time, it seemed to be a very dark day for me, but it turned out to be okay. I mean, it worked out well for me.
Okay.
It worked out very well, actually.
You had mentioned that young people should potentially get a job in the private sector that would help them better prepare them for this career. Can you throw out some examples of what type of job? I mean, working at Costco, or is there a specific type of job that would help us to get to where you're at?
Well, there is no specific job. You know, you can work at Costco. You brought up Costco. I mean, but it doesn't matter. You just need to get out there and get involved in those businesses and understand the difficulty it is that those businesses have. And as an employee, you see how hard it is. I mean, it's small businesses where, like I have, where I have my own business, I see every day. Every time I open the mail, I find that there's a new regulation by a lovely state of California that they don't understand what these things do to us. It's very difficult, and I spend an inordinate amount of time on regulations, and that's what I do at my business, by the way. One of those things I have to do.
Okay. Let's see, where are we at? We talked about the employment sector. If I'm a young person, I'm in college, can I get my foot in the door in this office by maybe an internship? Or?
Absolutely. Matter of fact, I've got to say, almost every form of government loves to take interns. City of Torrance, we are very lucky that we actually pay interns.
Really?
But we do have a lot of interns that volunteer too. But we have interns that are paid. Internships are 6 months typically.
Okay.
And we try to get college graduates when we happen to have the connection with USC, so we do have a lot of USC graduates come here, and we've been very fortunate. We've had a number of them come and done an outstanding job here, and a couple of them, by doing 6 months of internship, have actually landed permanent jobs in the city of Torrance, and so it's a great stepping stone for them, because now we see what kind of employee they are, and when an opening comes up, we make that decision.
Do you just come down here and stick your hand out, or do you fill out an application online? How does that work? How do I get a job here?
You can physically come down here to the City Hall and meet with a person called Fran Fulton, who is in charge of the interns. And we have interns here on the 3rd floor with the City Council and the City Manager's office. But we also have other interns in the City of Torrance, a number of them, by the way. For example, again, with USC, we have interns that come here and work on our cable department. We have our own cable department that does daily broadcasts. We are very proud of what they do, and it's a huge cable department. It's one of the biggest in the South Bay. We have a number of people that work there, and you can actually go online any day of the week and actually watch a city council meeting anywhere in the world online, which is a pretty cool thing. Or on our Tuesday night, we could watch it live either on cable or webcast it online again.
Okay.
So we have interns work in that department that actually volunteer. They're actually not getting paid, but they come and actually volunteer they do the exact same thing you're doing.
All right. Let's talk about the electoral process. I'm a college grad. I didn't do the internship, or maybe I did. How does one go about getting on the ballot to become mayor?
Well, it's really unbelievably simple to get on the ballot. Really? And most cities are the same. In the city of Torrance, you get a form and you fill it out, and then you need 20 signatures, legitimate registered voters.
Can't forge them?
Can't forge them. But the form has room for 30, so you can make 30 mistakes. Or you can make 10 mistakes out of the 20. You need 20 accurate ones.
What do you mean a mistake?
Well, sometimes you can only sign one petition for one person. Sometimes, once in a while, they'll sign 2 petitions, so one gets voided. Or a person signs the petition that doesn't live in the city of Torrance. It's no good.
Okay, so they actually verify the signatures.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
After every one of them. And or sometimes they're not actually registered voters.
Okay.
They sign them. So you get 20 legitimate signatures, you're on the ballot. Now, getting on the ballot is a very simple thing, but that doesn't get you elected.
Right.
And the building blocks I was talking about before is where a person has to be a volunteer. They have to be involved in the community. They have to have a base of people that really know them, that's going to help them get elected. And some people do come outside the system and just think that money is going to get them on the city council. Sure, you could spend a lot of money and do a lot of advertising, but a community like Torrance rarely gets fooled like that. Rarely. As a matter of fact, I can't even point to when we did. Virtually everybody I know that's ever been on the city council of the city of Torrance have been very involved, active people who've done a lot of things in the community. So, you know, because of that base of support, I mean, it can be from the PTA world, to say, or some other kinds of organizations.
Coaching, athletic
coaching,
teams.
yeah, coaching is a huge way, because over the years, like with me, 35 years, I mean, I know thousands of people, and so those people step forward to help you. And then when I say help you, they help you financially, of course, and also do a lot of, you know, volunteer work for you to get you elected. Everything from putting lawn signs up to hosting coffees at their homes and so forth. So, you know, there is a system by which you do this, and a city the size of Torrance is a small enough city that these hometown type things really work well. Obviously, when you get to a much bigger city, those kinds of things don't work well, because there's just too many people you have to get out and see. But Torrance, we're very proud, and we believe that we've elected those community type people that we've wanted.
Let's say I don't have any ties to the community, but I still want to become mayor. What advice would you have? Would it maybe go door to door? I want to meet people. How can I, if I don't have the community ties, how can I have a better chance of being elected?
Obviously, that is one of the ways you do that. You go door to door, and in the city of Torrance, we have approximately 85 precincts, and a precinct is pretty large. So you have approximately 150,000 people in the city of Torrance, but it varies year to year how many registered voters we have, and registered voters vary from about 75,000 to 80,000. So to get out to see 80,000 people door to door, it's pretty hard to do. Personally, I in each elected, I've never been able to walk more than 6 precincts, which is hard enough in itself, and it's very, very difficult and very time consuming. And I personally don't believe that's a very effective way to see enough people. I think it's important for you to do that, or try to do it, because you find out what the issues are of the community, but not an effective way to see enough people. And there's so many other ways. In the city of Torrance, in an election cycle, there's typically 10 to 15 or 18 forums that a politician would have to go to, either city council or mayor, and they would be asked questions in a public forum, and also it would be on TV. You actually get to see it on TV. So I mean, that's one way. Next way is what you do is you have coffees at people's homes. You'd arrange a 7 o'clock meeting at someone's home that's a friend of yours, and you'd ask them to invite 20 to 50 people, so that you get a base of 20 to 50 people that you've never met before. And it's a snowball effect. You ask those 20 to 50 people to do the same, and you continue to have these coffees through a period of 6 months. And in my world, I did 85 of those when I was running for mayor. And I met almost 3,000 people in their homes like that, 3,000 people. And they, and what really was important, obviously, raising money is a huge problem, is running for politics. And I hate, that's probably the number one thing I hate in politics, you have to ask for money. But my theory was, if I asked for somebody to give me a $5 or $25 check, it wasn't a lot of money, and it really, believe me, in a campaign that you spend tens of thousands of dollars on, that's not much money. But the theory is, if you ask for somebody to give you a small check like that doesn't have money, they bet on you now, and they want you to win. So now that person who's giving a $25 check is going to tell 10 people that, by the way, I'm supporting, they don't say how much money, but I'm supporting such and such for mayor or city council, and they're actually your dignitary out there helping you get elected, because they've given you this amount of money. Now, obviously, if they have the wherewithal to give you more, of course you'd want that. But I'm saying the average person doesn't like to give money to politicians, and let's face it, most of us don't have the money to do that. So, but if you can get a small amount, you're getting them to buy into the concept of you running, and that's huge.
Is there a limit as to what you can contribute to you?
In the city of Torrance, every city is different. The city of Torrance is $1,000 for the election cycle.
Okay.
So if a person donates $1,000, they can't give you any more. But other cities don't have that. The city of Torrance has a lot of election rules. It was one of the things I did when I first became mayor. I formed an ethics committee and had everybody sign an ethics agreement that they agreed to certain. It's right outside the door, and there's one hanging right on that wall. You can see it right there. It says a commitment to integrity.
Okay.
And we formed 30 people in this an ethics committee, and they came up with some regulations and rules about how we think politicians should treat the public, and how they would treat each other while they're running. And so we asked them to sign this integrity statement while they're running, so that they won't do dirty campaigning. They won't do mailers that are anonymous. You can't do that in the city of Torrance. And you're going to send out a mailer or a flyer, you have to show who's paying for it, and who's supporting it, and so forth. There's a lot of rules we have in Torrance that are unique to Torrance, and we're very proud about that, because we think that we help clean up the political process in Torrance. And where other cities don't have those things, I'm not criticizing other cities, I'm just saying that we've felt that it was very important that we do that here.
Do you ever spend some of your own dough on your own campaign, or do you just strictly rely on
Well, unfortunately, I did have to spend a lot of my own money, and that's an unfortunate part of politics. And
so that's not unethical. That's
no,
completely,
you could do that, but you can't. You can only get paid back up to $30,000 in the city of Torrance. So if you loaned yourself, for example,
so if you win, you get some money back.
Well, if people donate to your campaign. So, for example, if you loaned your campaign fund $100,000, well, you'd never be able to get that $100,000 back. You only get $30,000 of it back. So. I would, in the city of Torrance, obviously, I would hope that no one would do that. If they loaned themselves to $30,000 to run, then, and if they were to win, they could literally, through campaign contributions, pay themselves back that amount of money.
Typically, what is the average, if I want to have a successful campaign, typically, what would a campaign applicant have to spend?
You know, in the last 10 years, it's gotten increasingly more expensive to run, and because of the media that we have to get the word out. In the city of Torrance, to really have a successful campaign to run for city council, it's a minimum of $30,000, just absolutely minimum. And more successful campaign is pushing $50,000, and you know, years ago you could have done that with $5,000, but now today it's so much more expensive to do mailers and things like that, and the universe of people who vote is much larger. So you want to do 2, 3, or 4 mailers in the city of Torrance, you need in excess of $30,000. And so a true person who's running in the city of Torrance, if they say I'm going to spend $5,000, typically will have a difficult time getting elected, because the word just doesn't get out to the people you just don't know. And again, there's 75 to 80,000 voters, and to get the word out to the people who are high propensity voters is very difficult. And even with forums and all those other things I'm telling you, you have to do mailers. Unfortunately, mailers are a necessary evil, I'd say, and people that get mailers, I hate them. I mean, but especially during this last election, the presidential, we probably get 5 to 10 a day. It was that many. It was ridiculous. But
do you highly recommend that they participate in the mailer element of the process?
Have to, and then obviously yard signs are really huge. That's really important. There's so many things you can do to get elected. But it takes all the pieces of the puzzle. In other words, a person can't just do one part and think they're going to be an effective campaigner. They have to do the forums. You have to be on the public side. You have to go to social events that are happening in your community. I mean, if it has nothing to do with you, you're at that social event as just a spectator. People see you there, and if you're involved in your school and your PTAs and things like that, those are all important things. Those are all the pieces of the puzzle to be a person that can get elected. It's the person that comes outside the system. The average person like myself would wonder, why do you want to get involved if you never were a volunteer and those things? Because really, I view this, being a mayor or a council person, as a volunteer. You give them back to your community. In the city of Torrance, a mayor or a council person only gets paid $100 a month, which is unbelievable, isn't it? And I put in probably 40 hours a week doing this.
Wow. That's the salary?
Salary is $100 a month. And how that came about was back in 1922 when we were incorporated, they voted that in, and we were a charter city, one of the few charter cities in California. So they put it in the charter that you could pay $100 a month. Well, back in 1922, $100 a month was a lot of money. So, but nobody drew on that money. Nobody got that money because the council then felt that there were volunteers too. So it took to the early 50s before people in Torrance decided to start paying the council $100 a month, and it stays that till today. And there's goods and bads of that. If you're a person that needs the money, obviously $100 a month is not going to do it, because it costs me personally a lot more than that a month to be the mayor. It literally cost me between $1,000 and $2,000 a month, all the things I go to and functions I do. And the public views it as you're a volunteer. That's why the city of Torrance. Now, believe it or not, the city of Torrance, the size that we are, we're the lowest paid council and mayor in the LA County, by the way.
Wow.
And it's really amazing. But again, we don't do it for the money. I mean, and people go, "Oh, it's the perks you get." If the perks are meeting the president, then I'll say that's a great perk.
Right.
But there isn't perks in the city of Torrance that I make money from, believe me.
Okay.
And if a perk is getting a Subway sandwich on a Tuesday night before a council meeting, well, then you can count that as a perk.
Let's talk about the hierarchy from, say, the local level to maybe to the state level to the federal level of a potential stepping stone for a mayor. Because doesn't the political process generally start with the city council?
Absolutely.
And it can go all the way up to the president.
The funny part about it, people want to circumvent the councils and they live in the cities, and it happens. It works every once in a while. Somebody will just come out from cold and run for Congress or become an assembly person for the state. But I think a lot of people would rather politicians come from what I call the farm team. Being on city councils in every city is literally the farm team for higher office, and by doing so, the public has the opportunity to see you in those roles, see you in the public eye, see you speak, and see you have opinions about things. If you come cold turkey into a higher office, the public sometimes doesn't have the ability to know what you're really about. I mean, anybody can say anything on a flyer, and anybody can say, the buzzwords that everybody wants to hear. Oh yeah, I'm for public safety. I want strong police and fire department. I want to cut taxes. But unless you're in those positions to do those things and have a record of those things, you can say anything you want, and that's the sad part about it. So even as a resident, as a voter, I personally want I want to vote for somebody who has basically proven themselves, in either side of the case, or however you believe. And so the city councils are really the farm team for a lot of higher offices. Higher office, obviously, would be the first thing would typically be is an assembly for the state of California.
Okay.
And you move on to maybe the Senate of the state of California.
Okay.
And then maybe Congress, federally for congressperson. And even maybe in that mix would be a supervisor. So there's a lot of places to go.
Okay.
And with term limits in California, there's a lot of openings, and some people have been critical of term limits because they feel that the state of California in particular has people that are elected that aren't as experienced as they should be as they years pass. But I believe it's just the opposite. I think it's fresh eyes, fresh looking. I think it's a very good thing that we have term limits. But everybody sees things differently.
Now, is it true that a potential candidate with maybe a criminal background, let's say a DUI or something even more serious, would they have a chance to become a political representative?
You can't run for a political office with a felony.
Okay,
so
but a misdemeanor, you're fair game.
Yeah, and everything in your career, your background is going to be looked up by your opponents. And so if you have a number of misdemeanors and stuff, believe me, it's going to be very difficult. If you have a DUI or something like that, good luck. And I realize that it's very hard not to have those kinds of things. I personally have never been arrested in my life. I never had a DUI or anything like that. But I know of a lot of people that say, "Gee, I wish I could run, but I have this problem in my background." Well, you know what? We as citizens, residents again, we want people that have not had those problems, and so I think that's a good thing. If a person's a felony, he shouldn't have the right to run for public office.
Good deal. Let's talk about the day-to-day activities of a mayor. Can you walk us through a typical day of what you're doing around here?
Well, typical day is getting ready for a council meeting because it takes a week in advance to program and agendize what's going on the council meeting. And as the mayor, I worry about having too many things on a council meeting because our council meetings start at 7 o'clock at night, and once you get past 10, 11 o'clock at night, and you expect people to sit in the audience to testify either way, it gets difficult, and I think that's not good. So we try to keep the meetings down to a reasonable amount. 10 o'clock is like a reasonable amount of time. And so during the course of the week, I'm meeting with people that are coming forward with their items on the council meetings. It could be building a business in Torrance. It could be a house addition, or it could be building a new home, or it could be ordinances that we want to pass. And so during the course of the week, and before you got here today, I met with a couple of people that were discussing something about a project coming forward this coming Tuesday.
Do you actually have office hours? Are you here Monday through Friday, or how many days a week do you work?
I actually come in every single Monday, and Tuesday I'm here every single Tuesday because we have council meeting from 12 o'clock on. On Mondays I come here typically after 2 o'clock, and I stay till 5:30 or later.
Okay.
And then I typically don't show up on a Wednesday, but I typically come on a Thursday. So it's usually Monday, Tuesdays, and Thursdays for me.
Okay.
But I'm here all other times. If somebody wants to meet me on a Friday morning at 8 o'clock, I'm here. I come to meet them.
Are the city council members pretty much the same hours, or?
Yes, and and it makes it very difficult if somebody works for a company that won't let them do this. Of course, obviously I own my own company, so I'm able to do this, and the majority of the council people are able to do this too. So luckily they're able to go to ribbon cuttings at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or 11:30 in the morning or things like that. So, we're fortunate we have a council that is able to do it. We have, of the council, we have 2 of them that are retired, and so they do have the time, and then the rest do work. Myself and another one have our own businesses, so we're able to take the time.
What kind of business are you in?
I'm surprised you didn't ask that in the beginning. I have a towing company initially. It's called Frank Scotto Towing.
Okay.
And I also own gas stations, which the corporate name for the gas stations is called Full Circle Fuel. And then I also have a third company called California Towing Equipment. And we build tow trucks and sell them to other towing companies. And so I have three separate companies that we have approximately 100 employees.
So unless you've got a trust fund or you've got money hidden under your mattress, you better have some sort of a revenue to become a public official.
Oh, absolutely. Matter of fact, sadly, I think it's too bad, but you have to. I don't have to say you have to be rich, but you have to be well off enough to do politics in today's world. And
I didn't realize
it shouldn't be that way. And unfortunately, as a resident, I would rather we go back to when country is formed. We took people off the farm. You served for 2 years, and you made your opinions known, and you went back to work. And it's not that way anymore. Unfortunately, you need to have some resources to do this. And we every once in a while in the city of Torrance, we have very young people to try to do it by just putting their name on the ballot, and doing that just doesn't make it happen. You need all those other building blocks to get to the point where you're a serious candidate. Wow. And I would highly suggest that if somebody's thinking about a world of politics, that initially the first time out of the chute they have to be a serious candidate, because those races that you lose really strike against you. And so unless you wait your turn, let's say you're 30, 35, or 40 years old, if you've done some of these things, and you try to do it sooner than that, people believe that you don't have the building blocks, and you lose an election, and then you run again when you think you have all the building blocks, and then people don't want to vote for you because in kind of
ammunition
theory,
for your opponent.
Yeah,
right?
Like he ran before, and people didn't want to vote him in as a council person. Now he's running for assembly. Why should you vote him in as assemblyman? And and it's bizarre how people, it's really funny how people decide who to vote for. I mean, if you had that magical ball to figure it out exactly what turns somebody on to vote for somebody, there's so many elements to come into the equation to make them vote for you. Obviously, our president's proven having youth or looking young is very important. That having technology was very important, and I think our political world is changing. I think that those things are becoming more important, but those are just parts, little pieces, and so those things won't get you elected, but those things are important to certain people.
Well, thank you for your time. Do you have any advice for young people, or
I want to
say before we wrap it up?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to where I was telling you before. I don't care if you think about politics or any of those kinds of things. I think all I can stress is you do the best job you can at everything you're doing, and I don't care if you're working for Costco, like you said, you do the best job you can wherever you're working or going to school. You know, and going to school is not for a grade, it's to learn something, and to learn was really important to retain what you're learning. And sometimes I think that's forgotten in the process. Teachers are teaching you to get yourself a grade to move on to the next class, but I would just hope that everything you do, you try to exceed and do the best job you can, because I think that when you look back 20, 30 years from now and you felt that you did that, you'll be very pleased with yourself.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your time, Mr. Mayor.
Well,
we appreciate it.
Thank you for doing this.
So now you know how to become a mayor of a city. This is Freddy Cochran for California Careers. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.